As for snuggling up to Cashman for scoops, I shouldn't admit this, but I can't remember the last time I broke a Yankee story. Welcome, everyone, to the Monday edition of Fair Territory. A ton of headlines over the weekend, and I'm not even going to get to them all in this first segment. The one I'm going to exclude is the most amazing feat of all, Eugenio Suarez's 4-homer game, but we can talk about that in other places at other times. Diamondbacks lost that game, by the way. I want to start off with the pitching injuries that occurred over the weekend, two major ones. Logan Gilbert, Seattle Mariners, one of their aces, maybe the ace, shut down for at least 2 weeks with a right elbow flexor strain. Never a good sign to hear this. And the Mariners, the shame of this is they've been really hot. They're playing extremely well. They've won 12 of 16, consecutive series wins over these clubs, most of which are very good. Houston, Texas, Cincinnati, Toronto, Boston, and Miami. That's an impressive run the Mariners are on. They're already down George Kirby. To lose Gilbert on top of that would be really tough. The Dodgers also lost a starting pitcher this weekend. Tyler Glasnow, a guy they've lost before. Right shoulder discomfort. He says he's exhausted being hurt all the time, and he knows other people are exhausted too. He's right about that. But the Dodgers, unlike the Mariners, have extreme starting pitching depth. We've talked about this at length. The Mariners have perhaps the best rotation in the game, just not the depth that you would want. Emerson Hancock in there now, but beyond him, not that much. The Dodgers, as we've seen, they're kind of slow playing the season. They're going to react whenever someone has even a minor discomfort and say, go to the IL, we've got someone else coming in. And in this case, that someone else will be Tony Gonsolin. Obviously, they want Glasnow back. They want Blake Snell back. But right now, they're doing fine without them, or will do fine without them. Another big story over the weekend, the Yankees' demotion of Devin Williams from their closer role. Remember, Devin Williams was one of their big acquisitions when they pivoted after losing Juan Soto. Max Fried, another. Paul Goldschmidt, a third. Those guys are all doing great. Cody Bellinger, not so much. But Williams was supposed to be the anchor at the back of the bullpen. He's one of the best relievers in the game. But 11.25 ERA, coming off the end of last season when he allowed the homer to Pete Alonso in the playoffs. For whatever reason, the Airbender is not working right now, or at least not working as it should. Yankees going to Luke Weaver. And it always seems to me that the alternate closer, the backup closer, is kind of like the backup quarterback in the NFL. You want him, you want him, you want him when your guy is struggling. You want him until he struggles too. Maybe Luke Weaver won't struggle. The Yankees clearly need both those guys, Weaver and Williams, at the back of games. They need them to be effective. Also over the weekend, on Friday, I reported that the Cubs had a deal in place in December for Jesus Luzardo, but backed out after a medical review. Now, this is something actually I heard back in January, but could never confirm it. And then what happened was I saw, obviously, in the Fox game on Saturday that Luzardo was pitching against the Cubs for the Phillies, and I thought, let me revisit this. I finally got it confirmed to the point where I could report it, and here we go. Now, what's interesting here is clearly the Cubs wanted another starter even after signing Matthew Boyd. They ended up with Colin Ray after they failed to execute the deal for Luzardo, and that could be well and good. But Luzardo right now looks like one of the best pitchers in the game. 6 innings, no earned runs against the Cubs on Saturday. So that's a what might have been kind of deal. And there was another what might have been kind of deal with the Cubs that Patrick Mooney of The Athletic reported on over the weekend as well. This one, Bryce Harper, who could have been a Cub as well. He said to Patrick, going into that offseason, they were the number one team on my list without a doubt. Remember all the talk of uniting or reuniting Harper with Chris Bryant, both Las Vegas natives. They grew up together. And Tom Ricketts, the Cubs owner, was quoted recently as saying, hey, that is one that we looked at and just never executed, but it was certainly a big move that could have changed the trajectory of the franchise. Didn't happen. So sometimes readers will ask, hey, why are you guys reporting this stuff? Didn't happen. What's the difference? Fair question. But to me, one of the beauties of baseball and following transactions are the moves that didn't happen, how history might have changed if certain things took place. Harper to the Cubs certainly was one. Luzardo to the Cubs was another. And in both cases, it's news. In the case of Harper, he is saying that the Cubs were number one on his list. And in the case of Luzardo, we are simply reporting, or we're reporting, a trade that just did not come to fruition. North Side Territory covers where the Cubs go from here. The Athletic's Patrick Mooney and Sahadev Sharma host. Stay in the know with the latest episode out now. Subscribe and rate 5 stars to the entire Foul Territory network. We'll be back after a quick word from our friends at Foul Territory.
If you want a razor that looks good, makes you look good, gets the shave done, and doesn't cost much,
Oh.
Is it nice?
That's a hairy John. And you can smell it too. Smell it, John. Smell it.
Oh, wow. What
After
is
See,
that?
that's Harry's. That's the shave gel. I'm telling you, look. I mean, this.
You look scary, man.
It's the shot.
Fresh.
Now come in. Get this.
I don't want to touch this head anymore. Oh, my God.
Soft it is.
That looks like
it is
German
soft.
engineered blades made in their own factory that stay sharp longer.
I'm using the razor, and it does not. You can start to feel when it
Yeah.
gets dull. I mean, you guys only do like here and like up here.
True.
I'm doing acreage. Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. Normally their trial set is $10, but right now you can get it for just $6 at harrys.com/foul. That's our exclusive link, harrys.com/foul, for a $6 trial set.
All right, finally, as we complete this segment, the Orioles. I wrote about them again today. I've written about them quite a bit lately. And the reason I've been writing about them is because right now, they're one of the most disappointing teams in the game. Now, in the column, I talk about their starting pitching. And obviously, we've talked at length about the starting pitching of the Baltimore Orioles since the offseason. But there are some other issues too. They never have gotten that middle of the order presence that they needed on top of Anthony Santander last year. They did bring in Tyler O'Neill as a replacement for Santander, but they really needed one more, and they're still lacking that middle of the order guy, or even two guys, who could complement the young hitters who are honestly probably pressing as the team falls behind night after night. It's a tough situation for these kids. A lot of number one picks who are not accustomed to adversity are having to deal with adversity. And yes, we're seeing them press. We're also seeing injuries affect not only the rotation, but also the bullpen. They're down Andrew Kittredge, and the offense. They've had various players banged up at various times so far. So right now they're 10-17 as we tape this on Monday morning. Is it going to get better? Not if the starting pitching continues to falter. And then the question becomes, and I raised this in the column, what do they do at the deadline? Do they become sellers? Because if the Orioles chose to sell, and again, we're 3 months away, but we're just talking here. We're just speculating. If they chose to sell, they'd have some really attractive pieces. Cedric Mullins, potential free agent. Zach Eflin, potential free agent. Sir Anthony Dominguez, potential free agent as well. So they could do some things. But the problem with being a seller is that they were supposed to win now. Back-to-back postseason appearances. Didn't win a game in either appearance. But this was supposed to be a year in which they took a step forward. It isn't happening. And right now, the Orioles are a team with significant concerns. Time now for the Inside Dish, the part of the show where I talk about maybe an article I've written, maybe a trend in the game, or maybe today about reader reaction to a recent story of mine that was, I would say, over the top. And listen, let's preface this by saying I encourage and welcome all comments and reactions, both on the YouTube channel and on The Athletic. Obviously, I can't respond to all of them. I rarely respond to any of them, really because of the volume. That's the only reason. But editors often advise us as writers not to look at the comments, that people are just going to spout off. And hey, everyone's entitled to their opinions, and that's a good thing. Also, at times, I'll look at the comments and I'll notice somebody pointing out a factual error, and I will go and change the article to make it correct. That's a good thing too. I'm not perfect. My editors aren't perfect. And sometimes we miss things. But there are occasions when the comments are so over the top, it's kind of worth having a conversation. Now, this article that I wrote last week was about the Yankees and how they've developed a homegrown core here. It's beyond Aaron Judge. They're playing 5 homegrown guys regularly in their lineup, and they also have Clark Schmidt, a homegrown pitcher, in their starting rotation. There's the article. It's not just the money. how the Yankees continue to produce homegrown talent. Now, in this article, I took great pains to point out that the Yankees' homegrown players that I mentioned, Wells and Volpe and Dominguez, etc., they're not guaranteed to succeed. And I take great pains to mention that the Yankees aren't the only team succeeding at producing homegrown talent. There are any number of clubs, and I listed quite a few of them, that are doing it as well or even better. But I wrote about the Yankees because they face some unique disadvantages. They routinely draft low. That's partly a product of their success, and it's also partly a product of exceeding the luxury tax threshold by $40 million and getting your pick penalized 10 slots. They also lose picks quite frequently, 3 of the last 5 years, when they sign free agents who reject qualifying offers. So they're effectively playing from behind. Okay, that's why I wrote the story. Thought it was a valid thing to write. Not everybody's going to love it, but Yankee fans, unique among fan bases, I would say, contain a self-hating element that even when you write nicely about them, they're going to rip you. So fans did rip me, and I kind of consider these occasions when I see reaction like this to be at times, not always, because a lot of times people have valid opinions that they're stating contrary to mine, but at times, it's like a group therapy gaslighting session. I start to wonder if I'm a little crazy. So let's go through some of the comments, kind of one by one, and this time I'll actually respond. All right, here we go. First comment. Let's see what this one is. Oh, here we go. So why focus on the Yankees? I did ask that question in the column. Because the Yankees get clicks, and I want to snuggle up close to Cashman for scoops. At least be honest, Kenny. Okay, I'll be honest. The last time I wrote about the Yankees at length before this story was after Game 4 of the World Series. And in that column, which was not a warm and cuddly column, I basically said the Yankees are bad at playing baseball. And then in Game 5, they, of course, reinforced the point. That was the last time. So for my click seeking, if I'm doing that, I'm not doing a very good job. As for snuggling up to Cashman for scoops, I shouldn't admit this, but I can't remember the last time I broke a Yankee story. I imagine it's happened somewhat recently, maybe, I don't know, within the last year, but it's not happening often. Other writers are beating me to Yankee stories. So, hey, that isn't really a valid point there. I'm not doing myself any favors by snuggling up to Cashman. Okay, let's keep going here. What's the next comment? Here we go. I think you mean, how many 200 hitters can one team produce? Who on the Yankees paid you to write such nonsense? Well, no one paid me. The Athletic is the only entity paying me, as well as Fox Sports. But as for the 200 hitters, at the time the article came out, yes, Volpe was struggling, Wells was struggling. They had actually pretty good weekends, both of them. So they're not hitting 200 anymore. They're a little bit above that. Their OPSs are good. Volpe's a great defender. I'm not going to go through it one by one. I don't have to. The bottom line is the Yankees are a first-place club. They went to the World Series last year with a lot of these players. And here they are again, incorporating them and hoping they'll take the next step forward. As I mentioned, no guarantee that they will. All right, put up the next couple of comments. Here we go. Keep going. All right, from Anonymous You, I love these. Not surprising that Happy Bowtie, that would be me, I guess, chose to gush over the Yankees. Not surprising at all. But in rereading this column, the takeaway seems to be that the Yankees draft and develop a lot of players, many of whom disappoint as a Yankee or succeed for other teams. Not exactly the feather in the Yankees' cap that Rosie intended. Well, thanks for calling me Rosie and the second reference and not Happy Bowtie. And then the next comment, this one, I don't know, also from a nameless person. I think the author forgot to check the stats of these guys. Well, that goes back to the previous comment. As for the Yankee players that were developed and either did not succeed or did not end up with the Yankees, went elsewhere, fans need to understand not every homegrown player is going to be Aaron Judge. This is from the Yankees' perspective. But when you produce guys who are playing in the major leagues and playing on a regular basis, that is what is called a player development win. You want a draft pick to get to the major leagues. You want an international signing to get to the major leagues. They're going to have varying degrees of success. That's just the way it goes. They're not all going to be superstars. All right, final comments. Let's go. Let's round this up. All right, here we go. From Will S. I wonder if that's Will Salmon of The Athletic. Why did this article need to be written? No, it's not Will Salmon. That's a good question. Why did this article need to be written? I already explained it. And then the other one, the final one from Richard C. There are puff pieces, and then there is this drivel. Get it together. Well, I can only say I'm trying to get it together. I'm trying to keep it together. And I guess I'll just have to keep trying because, at least to some of the readers, it's not going very well. Oh, and I will say this in conclusion. A lot of these commenters, actually, I don't know if it's these commenters, but a lot of people come up to me at ballparks. They want a selfie, maybe an autograph. People, when I see them in public, generally are really nice. Now, those people too might have columns they disagree with, articles they disagree with, things they don't like, all well and good. But it's always interesting to me the difference that you see in the comments from the people who are largely anonymous, if not entirely anonymous, and the difference you see when people see you face to face. And I'll leave it at that. That's all I'm going to say. Thanks for the comments, everyone. We'll be back after a quick word from our friends at Foul Territory.
Todd Father, I love the way that modern technology has changed the way that we buy, sell, trade cards, even rip packs. They're called slab packs, and they're on Arena Club. No more shuffling through everything. The common cards are all over the place. Stuff's getting folded out and all messed up. Arena Club keeps it nice and tight in your digital showroom. And then when you want that card and you want to show it off, what do? You just let Arena Club know.
Let them know and grab it and take it with you. Show it off online. I think this is huge just because the fact that you talked about cutting the corners. You want to get a card that doesn't break or doesn't have a problem with it, go right to Arena Club. They have everything you need. Easy money right there for really, really good, exceptional cards.
After your pulls are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your vault for safekeeping or trading and selling. Right now, 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and use code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/foul, code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase.
Time now for Grillin Ken. Let's get to your questions. The first question comes from Dylan Edward, who asks, is Andres Munoz the best closer in the American League? Dylan, I'm going to do you one better. Right now, Andres Munoz is the best closer in Major League Baseball. And you could have made an argument until Sunday, and you really could still make an argument, that Robert Suarez is right there with Munoz, Robert Suarez of the San Diego Padres. But Suarez gave up his first run of the season on Sunday. It was a non-save effort, but he did give up a run. So we're going to go with Munoz because he has yet to give up a run. He's 10 for 10 in save opportunities, 0 earned runs in 14 innings pitched, 18 strikeouts, 6 walks, and 2 of those walks were intentional. So Andres Munoz, like a lot of Mariners, doesn't maybe get the attention he deserves, but he is off to a tremendous start. The next question comes from DRFU Passing, who asks, why hasn't JD Martinez been signed by anyone? Lots of teams out there could use some extra pop. No doubt about that. And certainly there are teams really could benefit from another hitter or two, for that matter, in some cases. But it seems to me that the issue for Martinez, and I have not spoken to him about this, but for him, for Anthony Rizzo, for Lance Lynn, it all seems to be the same story. What the teams are offering these guys contractually, financially, is not satisfactory in their opinions. The players do not want to play for the amount of money that they're being offered. In each case, each of these players has made a lot of money in their careers, and they have the right, the absolute right to say, I'm not playing for that. And I would imagine they're comfortable enough to say, I'm not playing for that. So that would seem to be the issue here, that the value the players have in their minds for what they are worth is different than what the value the teams are assigning them. And that is why none of those guys is signed, as well as a number of other players still in late April. And finally, we hear from Dan Crawley, who asks, could you see a scenario in which the Braves trade some of their core players at the deadline to shake up their roster and also fall further below the luxury tax threshold? Dan, I imagine you submitted this question maybe a couple of days ago because things have changed for the Braves. Yes, they started 5-13, but since then they're 7-2, 12-15 overall, and they are not going to give up the season or on the season unless they completely fall out of it, which I don't anticipate them doing. This is a team that still is awaiting the second return of Spencer Strider and awaiting the season debut of Ronald Acuna Jr. They're playing better. They should continue to play better still, barring some unforeseen circumstances. And I do expect that they're going to contend. They had better contend because they were my pick to go to the World Series from the National League. I want to thank everyone for their questions. I want to thank even the people who commented on the Yankees article. Thanks everyone for watching, for listening. You know where to find us: YouTube, Apple, Spotify. We will be back Thursday with our normal live show. It's a show that will take place in the month of May, 12:30 Eastern. Have a great week, everyone.
Let's shout out the BetMGM First Bet $1,500 offer when you use the bonus code FOUL. Get that offer when you download the BetMGM Sportsbook app or at BetMGM.com. Sign up, enter that bonus code FOUL, and deposit at least $10 into your new account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.